Welcome back everybody, Max here with Catrol Hunting, and today's video is gonna be about the pretty significant dip in the gold and silver prices today. And I want to talk about why it happened and what it means for my stacking strategy and why I actually believe it's a very good thing for the stacking community, at least short term. So let's get into it. Today, what happened today was that the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, announced basically higher US bond yields today and also played down the risk of inflation quite significantly. And that had a pretty immediate effect on the gold and silver prices. If you look at the live charts, it basically the dips immediately start after this interview or during this interview even. And this is always something that is very connected, is the yield of the US bonds and the gold and silver price. There's two factors that play a role here. First of all, higher US bond yields give you obviously a higher return on US bond yields, which are a pretty safe investment and therefore stand in direct competition, especially with gold or also with silver if you buy silver as a hedge against inflation. So that basically means that people can shift money into US bonds instead of gold and silver, which is a significantly less volatile market and guaranteed returns. It is not a volatile market as gold and silver. So people that use it as a store of value basically have an opportunity to restructure their assets and move some money out of gold and silver into US bonds. That is the first effect of it. The second effect of higher US bond yields is that it is, if you simplify it, more difficult for companies and people to borrow money. It's more expensive to borrow money, which is something that stifles economic growth to a certain degree. That's why most countries have been very, very, very aggressive with basically zero interest rates in the last years. To see a significant rise to 1.5% also obviously has a negative effect on the stock market because it lowers the economic outlook and lowers the basically expected return on the stock market. And that is something that affects silver a lot. And that's why you see, as you saw today, that the dip in silver in times like this is usually significantly higher than in gold. We saw like a 1.5% drop in gold today. It went down from, what was it, like 1690 1720 to 1690, and in silver we had roughly a drop of 4%. We almost went down $1. So we have almost a 3 times higher drop in silver than we had in gold, which is because silver is directly influenced by both of those factors. Silver is getting used as a hedge against inflation by many people, even though I'm not a big fan of calling silver a hedge against inflation. And secondly, because silver is mainly an industrial metal, so a lesser economic outlook means less silver demand, so a lower silver price. So silver is more affected than this by gold, but also in history or in similar scenarios like this, silver also bounces back much more aggressively than gold, and oftentimes the silver-gold ratio afterwards actually is going into silver's favor. So what I could see here happening is the silver price dipping a little bit further. I actually don't really see that there's an end to it. I actually was kind of expecting this a little bit, and I think I said that too in previous videos, that I expect that the market might go down a little bit. Basically, silver had a very, very high support because we had so much investment demand. Usually silver should have been much lower, in my opinion, because the industrial demand, at least from all the numbers are not 100% out yet, but at least from what it looks like or what it should be like, the industrial demand has dipped a lot, and that is usually what's driving the price. But we had two factors that actually went into silver's favor here, which is the very much increased investment demand. Only in the first half in 2020, that was the only reliable data that I could see, silver investment went up by 16% worldwide, and I expect that that is much higher towards the last half of 2020, because that's when the whole craziness with the premiums and the high demand started, and also beginning of 2021. So we had a definitely high increase in investment demand for silver, and we also had a high decrease in the mining production of silver because of COVID restrictions and so on. And with basically industry demand not having kicked in yet, it is very, very surprising to me that silver was holding those higher levels for such a long time. And that is also why I still very much believe in silver right now, and I don't really have a problem that it dips. It doesn't really bother me. It doesn't really change my stacking strategies too much. It only actually encourages me to continue buying, because I believe that with us nearing hopefully the end of the pandemic, industries will going back up. We will see a lot of stimulus programs around the world, and I don't mean helicopter money or direct cash injections into the population, but we will see a lot of infrastructural investment. We will see a lot of investment in renewable energy and so on, and this will all kick in once all the restrictions are lifted or significantly reduced, that people can travel normally again, people can ship goods around normally again, and basically consumption goes up and people start buying more cars and stuff like this. And that is basically where I believe the rise in the silver price will come. I'm actually a believer in silver going up to $30 towards the end of the year, because I have a strong, my intuition and my gut feeling tells me that we will see a spike in silver towards the end of the year once the COVID restrictions are lifted, and we're actually seeing increased industrial demand on all fronts. And because especially the industries that are using the biggest amounts of silver, like solar panels or electric cars, are going to be the industries of the future that the governments want to invest in. So we will see an increased demand for electronic cars and stuff like this, and there's a huge amount of irreplaceable silver in those products. And on the other side, we will see continuous investment demand. I believe that this whole Reddit silver squeeze and a lot of those kind of things brought silver back on the map a little bit and brought a lot of first-time investors into the silver investment market. So I actually can see some kind of a perfect storm coming for silver to go up a little bit, even though I do not think that this kind of industrial growth of the silver price is something that will jump through the roof, or we will see a drastic increase in silver. I could see it trickling up slowly over a few years. Gold for me is let's talk about gold for a second here. I'm much more skeptical with gold. I'm not a believer in gold as a long-term investment at all. Personally, I still struggle to see the attractiveness of gold. Whenever I talk to people that are really into gold and defend it, the only argument is usually that it has been historically money, and that is not a good argument for me. Things can change. And gold basically hasn't been money since the 1970s anywhere around the world. And gold is basically just a safe haven for your money. It is basically just a storage. It's only a storage of wealth. That is basically what gold is. And I believe that cryptocurrencies are exactly the same and with upside. So I believe that gold and cryptocurrency have a direct competition. So I'm not a big believer in gold long term. Just because it has no industrial use, and it is basically just a pure store of value. And as soon as you have other secure methods to store your value, gold is getting less and less attractive. And I am possibly a believer in short-term gold stacking. I believe that there will be probably a bottom line around the 1600 mark, maybe, where it could be interested to buy into gold for like a short-term or mid-term, let's say 2 to 5 year window for it to be interesting. But that's not really what I'm doing. I stack silver for the long term, and I look more like at a 15 to 20 year window. I just believe gold it's possible that gold is going to come under a lot of pressure, because it has a very, very similar function to Bitcoin and has actually less upside. And they are very, very similar. Many people will try to convince me that they're not, but to me, they are all very much the same. They're just a storage of value that is very difficult to mine in both cases, or maybe very energy and money intensive to mine. There's a limited supply of it that is not going to get increased, and that is basically what gold's upside was always: the very limited supply, the high difficulty to get it out of the ground. And Bitcoin has very, very similar properties. So I think there is now a direct competitor for gold, which is nothing I want if I want to do a long-term investment. In terms of silver, I obviously appreciate it right now. For my stacking strategy, it does not really matter where spot is so much. My stacking strategy is basically based on a weekly budget, and my only and I'm not forcefully spending that budget. My number one rule in stacking silver is I do not pay more than 5% over spot. That is the absolute maximum. And I do only pay 5% over spot for premium numismatic coins. I do not buy anything else over spot. For example, all the coins you see here, this is a mix of sterling Canadian proof coins and a bit of bullion here. This one is a beautiful Star Trek 1 ounce coin with a few 5-gram bullion pieces here. All of that are bought for spot, and that is my rule with stacking. I wait for deals where I can buy silver for spot. The silver market is too volatile to gamble and hold your money or basically go all out one moment, hold your money to try to predict the silver price. It's a very volatile market that can very, very quickly change within weeks, especially in recent times. But I believe in the long-term trajectory, and I believe that long-term we will see a significantly higher silver price than today just because of its industrial demand. And that is why I stack silver, and that's why I think it is not so... it is not a bad thing if silver goes down, because I can buy more silver, and I believe that it is gonna go down maybe a little bit more, but that doesn't make me regret any buys. I would really regret buys now if I would pay those premiums online. And again, I can only advise you people, check out your local coin shops. Those online dealers are not cheap. They never were, not even before the pandemic. They are not cheaper than local coin shops or other bullion dealers that you can actually physically walk into and buy your coins. Those online dealers are the most expensive way to buy your silver coins. Always be aware of it. I understand they are also the most convenient, and there's many reasons to go to them. For example, if you live in an area where you don't have a coin shop nearby, or if you just value the convenience over anything. But with premiums right now, it is not a good start to buy your silver at 30 plus US dollars if we are at 25 right now. I think it is a terrible deal, and in my experience, and I've actually just walked into a coin shop yesterday again just to see what the prices are like, and the coin shop prices are significantly lower than online, at least in my area, and also what I hear from other people that make similar experiences. So again, if you want to keep your stacking costs down, don't buy online. I'm not a big fan of it. I think it is only something that is good if you buy huge amounts, or if you really have no access to any other ways to buy your silver. Or some people just don't care. They just want the convenience, and that's all fair. I just say from my own experience, I do not think it's such a good idea to buy online compared to other ways to buy your silver. All right, let's conclude this video here today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know if you guys like those more educational videos. I'm a bit new to that, and I'm still a little bit on the shy side when I'm talking. But then again, guys, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you guys can leave me a subscription or a thumbs up, and I will see you guys soon.